Arna threw the mercenary aside with a single kick. His sword fell to the floor with a clang. Arna picked up the mercenary's sword from the floor. "Who are you anyway?" Arna asked the mercenary. "What the hell is going on anyway?" When I put my sword to her throat, she reacted calmly. Is she really pretending to be an ordinary lady? And why is she smiling so strangely? The mercenary thought fearfully. "Let's now, without further ado, you tell me everything. I am extremely interested in one question. Who sent you to me?" Arna inquired. "Commander, I guess I'm too late!" With a clatter, Crave burst through the door of the room. "Yes, you're late. And what were you so busy doing that you missed the mercenary? You haven't even been practicing lately, have you?" grumbled Arna. "I'd like to point out that you haven't been practicing lately either," parried Crave. "I'm the strongest among you, so I'm allowed to skip some training. All right, let's drop the subject. Better take a look at this mercenary. Does he look like the ones that attacked last time?" asked Arnie to Crave. "I don't even know. Last time it was more like well-trained warriors rather than assassins," answered Crave. "There are no idiots in the Eastern Kingdom capable of such a thing. Could it be that they were sent by someone from the Northern Empire? Maybe it was the Empress. Or was it done by Cassian's enemies?" Arna wondered. "Okay, I'll deal with that later. Right now, this mercenary is unlikely to tell us anything. He'll probably keep quiet until the last minute," said Arna, turning her back to the mercenary. Taking advantage of the moment, the mercenary grabbed a dagger from his sleeve and threw it at the girl. At the last fraction of a second, Arna managed to sidestep the dagger. The dagger whistled past the girl and embedded itself in the wall. "Well, I'll have to kill him." Arna pulled the dagger out of the wall and threw it at the mercenary. Suddenly, the girl heard some kind of rustling. There was someone else in the room. From somewhere around the corner, a dark-haired man jumped out and lunged at Crave. Out of the corner of his eye, the man saw the dead mercenary. "Good thing I decided to check it out for myself. How is this even possible? How did they manage to kill that mercenary and that girl? She's standing next to the corpse, and she's pretty calm about it." The dark-haired man thought to himself. "Oh, mistress, and what happened here?" exclaimed the maids who entered the room. "Stop! Put down your swords now!" shouted Butler George. "It's been a long time since I've seen you, Sir Lascellus," said the butler. "Mistress, now that the family doctor has examined you, you need rest. You may not worry, we have tripled the number of guards. If you need anything, then call me," said the butler to the girl. "I am the escort knight of the Duke of Ternugan. My name is Lascellus. Duchess, please forgive me. I didn't recognize you, so I behaved rudely. I beg you to punish me as I deserve," exclaimed the dark-haired knight, dropping to one knee in front of Arna. "Let's forget about it. I hold no grudge against you," said Arna. She was embarrassed to see the knight kneeling in front of her. An excited Cassian burst into the room. "I've been told everything. Are you all right?" asked Cassian to his consort. "Yes, I am fine. Sir Crave managed to protect me," replied the girl. "Arna, we will sleep together tonight. Spouses often sleep together, so there is nothing strange about it. Or do you not like the idea?" Cassian asked his spouse. "You see, you told me yourself that you won't touch unless I let you. We can't sleep in the same bed together," whispered Arna in her husband's ear. "I remember that very well, and I will keep my promise. We will sleep together tonight for safety reasons. Since someone tried to kill you tonight, I can't leave you alone tonight," replied Cassian to the girl. "But I have Crave, after all. I'm sure he'll protect me," mumbled Arna. The idea of spending the night together with her husband in the same bed really didn't appeal to the girl. "I don't want to trust your safety to another man. I beg you to let me guard you this night." Cassian continued to insist on his point. "Okay, but it's only for one night," the girl agreed. Lying next to her husband, Arna strenuously pretended to be asleep. Cassian leaned over the girl and brushed her hair away from her face. Arna opened her eyes. Having agreed to her husband's proposal, she hadn't expected to feel so awkward. On top of that, Cassian hadn't kept his words. He was constantly touching the girl. "Duke, I want to warn you that for taking such liberties I might kill you, said Arna. It seemed to me that your hair was in the way, so I removed it. In addition, I would gladly die by your hand so you didn't scare me. And I knew you couldn't sleep because of what happened, so I took liberties. Cassian admitted. Since you can't sleep because I'm lying next to you, I'll get to work. So, sleep well. I'll be right beside you. Cassian got out of bed and headed for the work table. And even though he's not lying next to me, I still can't sleep, the girl thought to herself. Cassian, don't tell my mother about today's incident. I will tell her myself later. She worries about me all the time. I don't want her to worry even more, asked Arne to her husband. Cassian promised to keep quiet. Lying in bed, Arna thought about her husband. What will he do when they get divorced? Will he marry another girl? How will he react to the divorce? Arna, you seem extremely agitated lately. What's going on? Cassian asked his spouse. Cassian, why did you marry me? Asked Arna to her husband. Cassian leaned over the girl and gently stroked her face. I take it you don't want to answer my question. Well, then forget about it. And you did promise not to touch me without my permission, didn't you? You're a gentleman, aren't you? The girl took her husband's hand away from her face. I am not a gentleman at this moment, whispered Cassian, after which he kissed his spouse on the lips. Good night, Arnie, said Cassian, kissing his spouse on the forehead. I still couldn't sleep. I really thought he would keep his word and not lay a finger on me. I really wanted to hit him, but as soon as his lips touched mine, the whole mood went away. Irritated, Arna slammed her forehead on the table with all her might. Commander, what's wrong with you? Did something happen? Crave asked the girl. Arna grabbed Crave by the scruff of the neck and stared intently into his eyes. No emotion she sensed. That wasn't surprising since she perceived Crave as her little brother. Then why was she reacting to Cassian? Who was he to her? Darling, I didn't come here alone. I want to formally introduce you to my personal knight, Sir Lachesis, said Cassian, who approached. Walking beside him, already familiar to the girl, was a dark-haired man. Greetings to you, Duchess, and once again, please forgive me for my rudeness yesterday, said the knight and bowed before the girl. There was an emergency last night, so let's forget about it, replied Arna. So what happened last night doesn't bother you at all, clarified Cassian to his spouse. To be honest, I was a little surprised, answered Arna. The girl decided that her husband was now talking about their kiss yesterday. You said yesterday that you were protected by Crave. Is that true? Cassian inquired. Yes, I stormed into the room and protected Mistress, shouted Crave loudly. A blushing Arnie covered her face with her hands. What on earth was she thinking? Her husband is talking about the murderer, and she's replaying last night's kiss in her head. This morning, the killer's body disappeared without a trace. There's no telling who did it. The visiting mages told me that there is an unexplainable magical aura in the room where the body was. Narrated Cassian. I think that thanks to this magical aura, the mercenary was able to get through the guards. Therefore, to prevent this from happening again, I have asked Sir Lachesis to guard you. Have 2 knights by your side at all times. Wait a moment, Cassian. I'm important, of course, but we need to think of your safety as well. Why are you giving me your accompanying knight? Exclaimed Arnie in surprise. The girl did not want a man unknown to her around her at all times. You can rely on me. I've been protecting the lady for years on end. She is safe with me, said Crave in a confident tone. Is he so confident because he is a sword master? Thought to himself Cassian. Arnie, I will be away from home a lot for the next few days. In my absence, you will be assisted by this man. Cassian pointed with his hand at the man standing next to him. Greetings, Duchess. I am Count Alan Armano. You may call me simply Alan. Why am I? The one who is constantly busy, the one who is forced to take care of the Duchess, Alan thought irritably. Well, I must be off. Continue your tea party, Arna. Cassian patted Alan on the shoulder, urging him to come with him. Well then, now let everyone go about their business, said Cassian to his subordinates. "Aye," said Sir Lessulus in a firm, confident tone. "Is it really that hard to kill some duchess? You went through the guards, got to her bedroom, but you still couldn't finish your mission," shouted the Emperor angrily. "I order you to try again. Only this time, be sure to kill her." "Your Majesty, I have been informed that the guards at the Duke of Ternugan's estate have been tripled," said the Emperor's counselor. "Are you telling me now to abandon my scheme?" clarified the Emperor to the counselor. "That is not the point. I'm suggesting that you take a different tack. We need to try something that we haven't done before, something that is not expected of us," said Counselor Samuel. A few days ago, the Duke of Ternugan had asked his attendant knight Sir Lachelas to observe discreetly his wife. Sir Lachelas hid behind the corner of the house and watched the Duchess's tea party. Crave felt an unpleasant feeling. He constantly felt like someone was staring at him intently. Damn, just a little more and that knight would have noticed me. He's so sharp, after all. Sir Lachelas thought to himself as he hid around the corner. A footman came to the table where the Duchess and her knight were sitting and said something in a low voice. "Your Grace, an invitation for the evening has arrived from the Imperial Palace." Alan held out a black envelope to the Duke. "An invitation for an evening? It must be some kind of trap," Cassian said thoughtfully. "Do you think the Emperor is up to something again? How about we refuse this time? Otherwise, while you're trying to catch the dragon, you'll find yourself in his lair unnoticed," said Alan. Sir Lachelas entered the Duke's office. The Duchess was visited this afternoon by an assassin disguised as a footman. Sir Crave managed to straighten him out, Sir Lachelas reported. "Sir Crave is so good. He defended the Duchess during the attack last time, too," exclaimed Alan. "He is certainly capable, but his sword is very strange. I got the feeling that Sir Crave sometimes talks to it. The sword seems to have a will of its own. I assume that this sword is designed to kill Leviton dragons," said Sir Lachelas. There were many myths and legends about the Leviton dragon slayer sword. It was written in ancient books that this sword could strike a dragon in the heart. Once in the dragon's body, the sword sucks all the strength out of the dragon. This sword only serves the sword master. Is that strange knight who is constantly by my consort's side really a sword master? I always thought sword masters looked a little different. Cassian thought to himself. "Your lordship, I would like to share my observations with you. It seems to me that the Duchess is a strange person. She didn't even flinch when Sir Crave fought with the assassin," said Sir Lachelas. "While her knight was massacring the assassin, the Duchess was calmly drinking tea. I got the impression that she has seen something like this many times before. She has absolutely no fear of assassins and mercenaries. It was the same last time. That day, when the estate was infiltrated by a mercenary, the Duchess acted nonchalant while standing next to the dead body. Is that how an ordinary lady reacts? The Duchess has absolutely no fear of dead bodies. I heard how difficult it was for you in the Imperial Palace, so I was a little worried. Now, however, I see that you are holding up briskly, so I am calm. I was told you were weak in health, but it turns out you have a strong character," said Agatha. "Yes, I agree with you. My character is indeed a bit bad." Embarrassed, Arna replied, "Our little Cassian has grown up and met such a wonderful life partner. I'm very happy for him." Agatha thought to herself. "Instead, next to the Duke of Ternugan is quite special, and a rare girl can occupy him. He rarely trusts or lets anyone near him," said Agatha. Cassian lost both of his parents at an early age, so he never experienced the affection that comes with family. He was hardly ever cared for by anyone, growing up alone in Ternugan Castle. Of course, in adulthood, people began to appear around him, but no one was able to see his true character. So many tried to get close to him to get what belonged to the Duke. I mean, people are attracted by the Duke's political power or by his fortune. People have never genuinely smiled at him. Arnie, please, just stay close to Cassian. I can see that he trusts you. He chose you to be his consort for a reason. Daughter, is something wrong with you? This is the first time in a long time you've called me first. Why do you have such a serious face? Said Duchess Brillacht. Mom, I want to ask you again. Am I really going to be able to divorce my husband soon? Why did you suddenly decide to ask me that? Did something happen? Duchess Brillat inquired of her daughter. You see, I've become worried about my reputation. I'm afraid there might be talk of me being returned as if I were unwanted goods, replied Arna. I gave you away in marriage because you didn't think about romantic relationships at all. I was always afraid you would be lonely, explained Duchess Brillacht. But I've never been lonely. You know I was always busy doing something. I didn't have time for romantic relationships, said Arna to her mother. Yes, but that's now. What happens then? The time will come and all your loved ones will leave you. Then you will be lonely. You yourself know very well that sword masters live a very long time. Now do you understand why I did it? Duchess Brillacht asked. If I spend the promised 3 months in this house, I will probably change my mind. First, I promised Agatha that I would always be there for Cassian. Secondly, I do feel good around him. Arne thought to herself. Arne, it's a good thing I found you here. I have something to tell you, said Cassian to his spouse. I have come to tell you that there will be a ball tomorrow at the Imperial Palace. My presence is mandatory. Arna got up from the table and walked over to her husband. She pressed herself against him with her whole body and laid her head on his chest. The girl could hear his heart beating resoundingly. The girl looked at her husband carefully. She remembered Agatha's words. Cassian had grown up in rather difficult circumstances, so he had learned to be quiet. He rarely drew any attention to his person. Do you like my face so much that you can't take your eyes off it? Cassian asked. Yes, I have only recently noticed that you are very handsome, replied the girl. Huh, well, since you like my face, I'll treat it more carefully, said Cassian, laughing merrily. Cassian helped his consort out of the carriage. I want to warn you that tonight's ball may make a lot of noise. Try to react calmly to everything. Cassian asked his consort. Cassian, you came after all. I need to talk to you urgently, exclaimed the Count of Thessalonica. Let's talk to you a little later, replied Cassian. Your lordship, you can go about your business. I'll keep an eye on the Duchess, said the Duke to Crave. Fine, I trust her to you, grumbled Cassian in a displeased tone. Here comes my birdie, Crown Prince Edward exclaimed joyfully. Arna felt someone staring at her intently. The girl looked up. Noticing that the girl was looking at him, Edward waved his hand at her joyfully. There he goes again, Arna thought irritably. Crave noticed that his commander was constantly looking at her husband. He began to guess that the girl had developed feelings. Commander, tell me honestly, you're not like that, are you? Some man has taken over your body and is pretending to be you, right? Have you really fallen in love with that person? Crave exclaimed. Are you carrying something? Arna asked in an irritated tone. You've been acting very strange lately. You used to be completely different. You're from that category of people who live because they were born. When it comes time to die, they just lie down and die. Crave went on to say, You are our commander and belong to the Order of the Golden Dragon. It was you who saved my life 10 years ago. You became a hero to me that day. I respected you as a knight, and that's why I followed you. Just when I think about the fact that my old commander will no longer be there, it makes me very sad. Who's that man hanging around my bird? Gotta get rid of him now. Prince Edward thought to himself irritably. When Edward stepped out into the hallway, he saw the Emperor's advisor and a gray-haired man. Counselor Samuel whispered to the gray-haired man to find someone who could eliminate the red-haired knight. Why would you need to find someone? I can do it myself, Prince Edward exclaimed. Is that what you're really upset about? Asked Arna to her knight. My little bird, you are beautiful today. What are you talking to that young man about? Asked the girl as the prince approached. By the way, your knight is being looked for by the warden. I don't know what happened there, but the warden demands that he come to him and as soon as possible. All right, Crave, you may go, said Arna to the knight. It's clear to one and all that this way he just wants to get rid of me so he can then pester the commander in peace. Does he really think I'll take his bait? Crave thought to himself. Excuse me, Your Highness, but could you please follow me, as I don't know where the warden is at the moment. It was you who came to convey his request to me, so you know where he is. Said Crave bowed low before the Crown Prince. Prince Edward angrily gritted his teeth. He really wanted to stay by Arna's side, but he still had to escort the red-haired knight away. Crave was proving to be very persistent. Arna looked at her husband. He was busy talking to some people. When I was alone at the last banquet, I didn't have that unpleasant feeling. What's happening to me lately? Arna thought to herself. You're the Duchess, aren't you? Asked Arna as an unfamiliar girl approached her. And who are you? Asked Arna in surprise. I am the daughter of the Duke of Frisia. I have longed to socialize with you for a very long time. It was fate that brought us together. Let us drink to that. Duke Frisia's daughter held out a wineglass to Arna. You come from the Western Empire, don't you? Is it true what they say that golden apples grow on trees there? Duke Frisia's daughter asked. Those apples are not made of gold. It's just that the variety is called that, replied Arna. She brought the wineglass to her nose to catch its flavor. Don't worry, the wine is quite tasty. I've already had a couple glasses, Duke Frisia's daughter exclaimed. Arna pretended to drink some of the wine. The girl swayed from side to side and muttered that the wine had hit her head. At the same instant, a waiter appeared behind the girl. I'm sure the commander will be fine. And why did that asshole interrupt us during an important conversation? Crave thought to himself irritably. That's it. We've reached it. Behind this door is the warden's office, this way, said the prince, pointing to the door with his hand. As soon as Crave entered the room, he was immediately jumped on by the mercenary. Crave saw the mercenary out of the corner of his eye and dodged the blow. Without a second thought, Crave kneed the mercenary in the face. Warden, there's a strange man burst into your office. Do you happen to know him? Asked Crave, lifting the mercenary by the scruff of his neck. No, I don't know him, shouted the warden and sprinted out of the office. Crave realized that this whole situation had happened for a reason. He hurried back to the banquet hall. Your Majesty, we succeeded in poisoning the Duchess. We have hidden her identity and moved her to another location. We await your order, said the mercenary who pretended to be a waiter earlier. Yeah, this case seemed very complicated to me earlier. It's amazing how easy it turned out to be. About the Duchess, don't touch her yet. We might need her, replied the Emperor. And why was Arnie looking at me like that? By the way, I noticed that as soon as we entered the hall, Edward did not take his eyes off her. He probably did something about it when I left, Cassian thought to himself. And I still don't feel comfortable with that red-haired, strange knight being around her. Being around him lately, she seems very anxious. When we met her gaze, she immediately turned away, as if she intended to run away. What was she thinking at that moment? Maybe I was too hasty and I shouldn't have kissed her? Why do I feel so uneasy? Your Grace, there's been a disaster. The Duchess is missing. In an agitated voice shouted Alan, who had come up. And where is Sir Crave, who is supposed to be guarding her? Cassian asked in an angry tone. The heralds announced in a loud voice that the Emperor had arrived at the banquet. Thank you all for coming here on a day like this. I hope you enjoy my reception. In a loud voice, the Emperor said to the people present, This is the Duke of Turnagain before me. It's been a long time. Greetings, Your Majesty. It has indeed been a long time since we have seen each other, for you have not received me, replied Cassian to the Emperor. Cassian, I am told that you have married. Where is your consort now? I have come here specially to confirm your marriage, said the Emperor. Your Majesty, forgive me for being late, said Arna. Cassian looked at his consort with a surprised look. The Emperor, on the other hand, gritted his teeth angrily. When Arna brought the wineglass to her nose, she heard a foreign odor. The girl guessed that poison had been added to the drink. She only pretended to drink the wine. A waiter approached and took Arna under his arms and led her out of the banquet hall. The waiter handed the girl into the hands of the mercenaries. When Arna was alone with the mercenaries, she immediately hurried to get rid of them. Under torture, one of the mercenaries confessed to the girl that the Emperor was behind her kidnapping and alleged murder. I wonder why the Emperor would want to kill me. What benefit does he gain from my death? Does he really want to start a war with the Western Empire? Or maybe he found out that I am a sword master. Arna thought to herself. It is a pleasure to meet you, Duchess. Welcome to the Northern Empire, said the Emperor to the girl. I was told she was successfully poisoned after all, but she seems quite healthy. You can't trust anyone with anything. You have to do everything yourself. The Emperor thought irritably. I sincerely thank you for your congratulations on the wedding, Your Majesty, said Cassian to the Emperor. Your marriage is the union of two empires, so live happily ever after, said the Emperor and hurriedly left the banquet hall. Cassian was very curious as to how his consort managed to escape from the Emperor's hands. Could he have misjudged her? What if she was just pretending to be a calm and modest girl? Suddenly, she is a completely different person? Alan, what was Sir Crave doing during the ball? Cassian asked his assistant. As Sir Crave himself said, he went with Prince Edward to see the warden. He was then attacked by an unknown masked man, whom he successfully dealt with, Alan reported. So Arna single-handedly dealt with the Emperor's ruse. How did she manage it, after all? Cassian wondered. How well does he know his wife? What is she hiding from him? So you're saying that the Emperor is behind all this? Is he the one trying to get you killed? Crave exclaimed. Arna asked him to keep his voice down. That information needs to be kept secret for now. I can't prove anything at this point, said Arna. And what did you do with those mercenaries? I hope you killed them, growled Crave angrily. I did intend to kill them in the beginning, but then I just put a seal on them. If those people try to tell what happened, they will immediately suffer horrific pain, replied Arna. I'm not sure if they'll survive in the end since they didn't manage to kill me. But stop talking about me. Better tell me what you were doing while I pretended to be poisoned. And I went to see the warden, but some man tried to stun me. It's a strange empire, after all. After your story, I now understand why I was attacked as well, Crave said thoughtfully. I wonder if I should tell her for the man I saw at the ball. I'm not sure, but I thought I saw a knight from the Order of the Golden Dragon. I meant to follow him, but I missed him because of the crowd. Crave thought to himself. Mistress, you have received many invitations. Perhaps there were rumors about what happened in the palace yesterday. So many people decided to invite you to various events, said Eve, who approached. I thought you had something you wanted to tell me. Did something strange happen at the ball? Asked Arna to her knight. Crave replied to the girl that it didn't matter. He would tell her about it a little later. You mean I need to go through all these letters? Exclaimed Arna. She hadn't expected to see a whole mountain of invitations. All these invitations are sent in your name, so you'll have to respond to them, said Agatha. The maids volunteered to help the Duchess deal with the invitations. They decided to only answer the letters of important people. Since dealing with these letters will take a long time, I suggest that the Duchess organize a reception and invite all these people to it, Agatha exclaimed. Marquise, that's just terrific advice. Ava was grateful to Agatha for coming up with a quick solution to the problem. To be honest, I'm even glad that so many invitations came to us. I think the Duchess has a chance to meet some good people. She'll have some friends that she can socialize with in the future, said Agatha. Arna had never had any girlfriends. Since she was a little girl, she had a passion for fencing. Her best friends were swords. I suggest we have a tea party, as is customary in the Western Empire. The local people are fond of this culture. I can just about recommend a trade guild to you. Many local aristocrats buy the goods they need there, Agatha said. The head of the trade guild decided to personally visit the Duchess of Ternugan. Agatha introduced the head of the trade guild as Viscount Sir Ergen of the Western Empire. What's he doing here? Did he really get the title after the end of the war with the Eastern Kingdom? I really hope that not the entire Knight Order has come here. I've had enough of the annoying Crave for now. Arna thought dejectedly. I would like to offer you some Western-style tea party goods. This tea set is made by the hands of a famous master craftsman in the Western Empire. Ergen began to show the Duchess his goods. Arna asked everyone to leave. She wanted to talk to Ergen about his sudden appearance in her house. Ergen, answer me, did you leave the order too? Asked Arna. In addition to Ender, she had invited Crave into her room as well. Arna had always trusted only 3 knights. The first was her deputy Crave Rules Colesburno. Although he often got into various stories, he was very trustworthy. The second influential person in the Order of the Golden Dragon was Ergen Whalen. The third knight hadn't shown up yet, but Arn was confident that he too would come to her soon. The thing is, my father always wanted to do trade. I promised to fulfill his dream, so he entrusted me with an entire branch in the north. Commander, you know my abilities. I'm pretty good at trading, said Ergen. You don't talk back to me. Quickly tell me why you came here, ordered Arna. I came here for you. I guessed that your goofy deputy would go to you, so I just followed him, Ergen admitted. I attended last night's ball since I knew you would be there, but I didn't get a chance to socialize with you. By the way, we crossed glances with you once, but you did not recognize me. I was surprised at your absent-mindedness. I understood you, but why did you decide to go into the trade after all? Just let's not have these excuses. Speak honestly, said Arna. I had to establish myself in the capital first, so that I could be of use to you later. I know the secular world is information warfare. You are not strong in it, so I came here to help you, replied Ergen. By the way, I had to use my connections to get into last night's ball. I was extremely interested in observing you. I noticed that you managed to teach Emperor Giuseppe a lesson. You have changed for the better, becoming more judicious. It has also come to my attention that you will not be staying here for long. You will be returning home in a short time. I have decided to treat this trip as my little vacation. I will only return home with you. Commander, have you really decided to return home soon? Crave asked the girl. Arna answered him that she wasn't sure what she would do next yet. Well, think about it carefully. You still have time, said Ergen with a shrug. How about you personally ask the Duchess what happened at the ball? Asked the Duke Alan. Cassian went in search of his consort. The Duke found his wife in the hall. She was chatting with a man unknown to him. Cassian noticed that his spouse was very annoyed. It was obvious that the man standing next to her made her very angry. Cassian also noted to himself that the man unknown to him was looking at his wife with a rather gentle gaze. Could they be acquainted? If so, what is it that binds them together? Seeing the edge of the Duke's eye, Ergen hurried away. My head is spinning from all this, muttered Arna, slamming the door behind Ergen. Arnie, who was that man? Asked Cassian to his spouse. It was a local merchant, replied the girl. And why do you have such a frown on your face? Did that merchant upset you in some way? Cassian inquired. No, it's fine. By the way, Cassian, it's business hours and you should be busy with business. So why did you come here? Asked Arna to her husband. I just missed you. Cassian gently stroked his spouse's face. Your behavior is making me very uncomfortable right now, mumbled the girl. Then I shouldn't embarrass you. I will come again when I want to see you, replied the Duke to the girl. Oh, how I envy them, thought Crave with a kind of sadness. So, did you manage to talk to the Duchess? Did she tell you what happened at the ball? Asked Alan. No, I haven't spoken to her on the subject. Let's find out for ourselves what happened at the Imperial Palace. If we check the Emperor's inner circle, something is bound to come up, replied the Duke. And, by the way, find out what kind of merchant came to see us this afternoon. Also, contact the courtiers of the Western Empire and check on Levelgos, the swordmaster. Also, order me to gather information about my consort. Alan managed to find out that not long ago, a young aristocrat had suddenly appeared in the Northern Empire and produced a resort. Thanks to Ergen's incredible sales, the West Gold Company, which had been stagnant for a long time, suddenly became a success. Still, the commander hasn't changed at all, and that's even for the better. When she told me she was getting married, I didn't even believe it. I never thought that her consort would be the Duke of Turnagain from the Northern Empire. Ergen thought to himself. If I had known in advance that she would become the wife of such a man, I would have married her myself long ago. Still, our commander should have married someone better. The Duke of Turnagain is absolutely no match for her. Ergen decided to pay a visit to the tea party hosted by the Duchess of Turnagain. The last thing I wanted was to see him here, mumbled Arna, noticing Ergen among the guests. Arna noticed that the nobles' attitudes toward her had changed a great deal. The invited noblewomen were eager to win her attention. They were constantly complimenting Arna. Suddenly, a large, vicious dog rushed into the Duchess's tea party. The invited girls squealed loudly. Barking menacingly, the dog rushed at the girl who was standing next to the Duchess. Taking a couple of plates from the table, Arna threw them at the dog. Shaking his head from side to side, the dog quickly came to his senses. That dog is still full of energy, and he has a kind of frantic look in his eyes. There's nothing else for me to do but... Arna thought to herself. Arna summoned a large, fearsome tiger. This tiger was only visible to the dog. With a loud whine, the dog sat down on the floor. A short while later, the dog allowed Arnie to come up to it and pet itself. The invited guests noted that Duchess had quickly gained the trust of the formidable dog. "Oh, what just happened?" Rosanna muttered. Ergen noticed that one of the invited ladies was acting rather strangely. "Ladies, why are you hiding in such a secluded place?" asked Ergen to the girls. "The thing is, we needed to secrecy," replied Rosanna. "Excuse us, we have to go. The tea party should continue." Rosanna led her friends to the table. Ergen noted to himself that the situation was getting more interesting every day. He was very fond of all possible intrigue, gossip, and rumors, so he was enjoying the events taking place. Roseanne was Lady Haley's best friend. Unlike Rosanna, who was of low birth, Haley had dreamed of becoming a duchess since childhood. She wanted a status next in importance after that of members of the Imperial family. Lady Haley dreamed of marrying the Duke of Turnagain. The girl was very upset when she learned that Cassian had married a girl from the Western Empire. In order to mess with the Duke of Turnagain's consort, Rosanna let her hunting dog down in chains. "It's absolutely unclear why my plan failed. This incident shouldn't be told to anyone. I'll have to wait for my next chance," Roseanne thought to herself. Cassian walked over to his spouse and hugged her tightly. "I heard that something terrible happened today. I was told that you backstabbed another lady with you, saving her from a hunting dog. Are you sure you're not hurt anywhere?" "I'm fine. Don't worry about me," replied the girl. "Don't ever put yourself in such danger again," asked the Duke to his consort. "Listen, Cassian, I have something to tell you." Arna decided to no longer hide the fact that she was quite strong from her spouse. "I want to confess that I am actually perfectly healthy. I have excellent health. I am not as weak as you think. I'm actually very strong." "Of course you are strong, we believe you. Today has been a very busy day, so you are probably very tired. Go to your room. I'll take care of the rest. There's only one thing I want to ask of you. Be by my side for as long as possible," replied Cassian to his spouse. "You are the only person close to me at the moment. I don't want to lose you." "So you mean you've decided to keep this hunting dog?" clarified Agrin to his commander. "I've said many times that I won't save everyone, but I still can't do otherwise. That dog is left all alone. I don't know who his master is. I'll have to keep him. I'll name him Jaron. This land is full of all kinds of animals. To kill an animal without reason is to go against God's will. My mistress did the right thing in keeping the dog," said Sword Evermore. "By the way, why did you come to me again? Just tell the truth, don't humor me. I know you like to beat around the bush," said Arna to Ergen. "I came to tell you who the owner of this dog is. You probably already know that your husband is very popular with the ladies. Have you ever heard of Lady Haley? If it weren't for you, she would have become a duchess," replied Ergen. "Are you saying that this dog was set on me by jealous women?" clarified Arna. "I suggest you don't dwell on that. Better find out why the Emperor is trying to kill me. Find out where I have wronged him and why he would favor my death." "Maybe he found out I'm a sword master? If so, then why is he sending such weak assassins to me? Do you really think it's all about you? You probably don't fully realize how dangerous the Duchess of Turnagain's position is. Don't you find it strange that the Emperor and Empress are against you? Ergen asked. Have you never felt anything strange at social events? And aren't you still curious to know the reason why the Duke of Turnigan has a better chance of taking the throne than the second prince and the Empress's daughter? I don't know if you are aware of this, but it is suspected that Emperor Giuseppe poisoned his own brother, the former emperor, in order to seize power and take the throne himself. For this reason, he's letting the crown prince get away with it. He doesn't want to incur the wrath of his son. Are you aware that the only legitimate son of the former emperor is your husband, the Duke of Turnugen? It is Cassian who is second in line to the throne. The previous Emperor Treston died suddenly when Cassian was still a child. After the death of her consort, the former Empress Isolde committed suicide. Since Cassian was very young, Duke Giuseppe was chosen as emperor. Before he sat on the throne, Giuseppe swore that he would pass the throne to Cassian when he became an adult. After some time, Giuseppe executed anyone who might have helped Cassian take the throne. Since Giuseppe is afraid of the opinions of the commoners, he decided not to kill Cassian yet. Giuseppe gave his nephew the title of Duke and allowed him to live in Turnigan Castle. From childhood, Cassian had only his godmother, the Marquess Agatha Given, by his side. For many years he lived as if in a prison. My point is that at the moment you are between the Emperor and the Duke. Your life depends entirely on political calculations. What she heard shocked Arna. It slowly began to dawn on her what an unpleasant situation she had gotten herself into. When Arna was 16 years old, she took up the sword and entered the battlefield. The reason was not only a desire to stand up for her homeland, but also to protect her family from enemies. The most important thing to the girl was her family. Arna felt sorry for Cassian, for even as a child, something important had been taken from him, his parents. Now she understood why he had asked her to be with him for as long as possible. He had called her the only family she had. The girl really wanted to see her husband. Cassian, if things get hard for you all of a sudden, you don't have to endure it alone. Be sure to tell me what is troubling you. I promise to hold you and comfort you. Suddenly, Cassian pulled the girl tightly against him. I will certainly do exactly as you said, Cassian promised. Yesterday, the head of the trade guild came to your consort's tea party. The maids told me he was talking to the Duchess about something, Alan reported. What did you manage to find out about him, other than that he is a good merchant? Cassian asked his assistant. I have nothing to tell you at the moment. Wait a little while. The investigation is still going on, replied Alan. I will have one errand for you. Hand over all your business to Grendel and take over the job of the Duchess's assistant. I want you to be by her side at all times, said Cassian. And why do I have to fulfill the role of the Duchess's assistant? Does she need an assistant? It seems to me that this is just plain snooping under the guise of an assistant. Alan thought to himself as he watched the Duchess. Commander, do you have any idea why this man is always following us around? Asked Duchess Crave, giving Alan a hint. I don't know. He came to me this morning and told me he would be my aide from today, replied Arna. I can hear everything they're talking about. It's so embarrassing. I actually have a lot on my mind, but I have to hang around the Duchess. The whole thing upsets me to the point of tears. With longing in his heart, Alan thought. Alan, would you like some cookies? You can join us for tea, said the Duchess to her newfound assistant. While chatting with the Duchess, Alan noticed that she had a rare charm that could draw people in. I think Alan was sent to you by the Duke to keep an eye on you, said Crave while Alan wasn't around. By the way, Commander, I noticed that you have a good relationship with the Duke. Perhaps you could tell him what we have in common. He's jealous of you, so he doesn't like me. Crave, I knew from the beginning that I would be divorced in 3 months, but things have gotten really complicated now, mumbled Arna. Mistress, I came to tell you that there is a riding club meeting tomorrow. You are invited too, an approaching maid exclaimed. Several more maids ran up to the Duchess and suggested that she prepare for the club meeting. Why would a commander need to prepare? I haven't met a single person who is better with a horse than she is, thought to himself Crave. Today's club meeting is being held at a different place than usual. By the way, there's no horse left for the Duchess, noted Rosanna. If I understand correctly, it is this girl who wants to mess with me, Arna guessed. Duchess, I have learned that you have no horse. You may use mine, shouted Lady Daisy. We have several spare horses at our club. The Duchess can have one of them. The horses are good, have excellent pedigrees, said Rosanne. Rosanna ordered one of the club's horses to be brought in. As you can see, this is a very handsome and strong stallion. However, he has quite a bad temper. He doesn't let everyone sit. Last time he threw one gentleman off, he broke his leg. I should have punished him, but he has a very good pedigree. Duchess, if you can tame this stallion, I will give him to you as a gift. That's a favorable offer, isn't it? Are you saying I just need to tame this stallion? Won't you regret your offer later? Asked Arnie to Rosanna. They say good horses choose their own riders. It seems this stallion never met a suitable master. Arna got on the stallion and galloped off. After making a few circles, Arna turned back to Rosanna. Raven, you are an excellent horse. Lady Rosanna, thank you for the gift. When Arnie returned home, Crave offered to talk to her about her divorce. What's there to talk about? I thought you'd be more excited than anyone, exclaimed Arna. When you said you were getting married, I took it as just another joke. However, you really did. When leaving, you said to find a replacement for you, but that is impossible. The place of commander can only be taken by you. At first, I couldn't understand how an outstanding person like you could live an ordinary life. But as I lived here, I had a completely different thought in my mind. Is it possible to put the entire military might of the Western Empire on the shoulders of one person? Living here, you have shown, finally finding the freedom that you didn't have in the West. Therefore, it seems to me that it is better for you to stay here. Such a quiet life suits you very well. I think you can finally make a somewhat selfish choice. The people living in this house are very fond of you, and yes, you have been more peaceful lately. You don't have to get a divorce. Why would you want to go back to the Western Empire? Crave, you see, I can't leave the Western Empire. There's still a war going on there with the Eastern Kingdom. It's absolutely unknown what kind of danger our empire is in. Thank you for your concern. I heard that you were talking to the Duchess about the divorce, Erica exclaimed. Crave hurried to cover the girl's mouth. Look, it's a secret, but I actually just recently got married. My wife announced the other day that she wants to divorce me. Lied Crave. You're lying to me. I've asked others, and they tell me you're not married. Or have you been pretending to be a bachelor all along? Erica exclaimed. I'm not fooling you. I do have a wife. And yes, I am the ultimate scoundrel, shouted Crave. And what were you trying to accomplish by pretending to be single? Erica asked in a surprised voice. I told everyone I was single so I wouldn't hear words of judgment. Hardly everyone would have liked the fact that I left my consort in the Western Empire and came to the North myself. I could not do otherwise. I must protect the Duchess, replied Crave. It's been a long time since we've seen you, Commander. How's your husband doing? Have you gotten used to life on the estate? Asked Jarina Irgain, formerly of the Order of the Golden Dragon. I called you to see how things were going in the West, said Arna. You are probably aware that your entire unit has resigned, but I think that problem will be resolved when you return. Prince Lionel is very much looking forward to your return. Jarina replied. Madam, there is a matter I would very much like to discuss with you. Erica burst into the room. Following her, Crave ran in. I'm sorry, we'll talk to you a little later, said Arna to Jarina, after which she passed out. I didn't get a chance to tell her that I'll probably see her soon, mumbled Jarina. Erica, what do you want to talk to me about? Asked Arna to the maid. Mistress, do you really want to divorce the Duke? Asked Erica, dropping tears. Arna looked angrily at Crave. I have absolutely nothing to do with this, screamed Crave. Erica, do you want to swear allegiance to me? Arna decided to change the topic of conversation. The Duke of Ternugin had been invited to the Shillian Social Club. In the hallway of the club, he ran into the head of the trade guild. It seems that even ordinary merchants are going clubbing these days, grumbled the Duke. Ergen answered him that he had to come to this place as he was called by a very important client. Allow me to formally introduce myself, Duke of Ternugin. My name is Ergen. I am the owner of the West Gold Trading Company. I am also the head of the Merchants Guild there. Ergen noticed that the Duke was openly turning against him. It seems to me that you have taken an interest in my person since you have a man spying on me. And did he manage to find out anything? Of course, for every man has his skeletons in his closet. I know now that you are the second son of Count Waylan. When you were young, your father abandoned you, said Cassian. At the age of 16, during the war between the Western Empire and the Eastern Kingdom, you managed to escape the abandoned wasteland alive. Further, your whereabouts became unknown. Why did you come north? What is your connection to my wife? As I thought, you have a keen interest in me. And to be honest, I'm even embarrassed by this increased attention on your part. And you are right. I am around the Duchess for a reason, replied Ergen. What amuses me is the fact that you still don't know what it is that binds us together. Has she still not told you about me? I would like to point out that this is not a relationship that needs to be hidden. But why isn't she telling you? Maybe she doesn't trust you? Also, you should be aware of the fact that I've known the Duchess much longer than you have. How impertinent you are after all, Cassian remarked. Sir, you are summoned by one of our deeply respected clients, said Ergen as a footman approached. Your lordship, did something happen while I was away? You seem extremely irritated, said Alan. Alan, have you finished gathering information on the West Gold Company? Asked the Duke to his assistant. I have only managed to find out that this company is connected to the Western Imperial Palace. The Knights of the Golden Dragon Order have suddenly resigned. That's all the information for now, replied Alan. Is Cyclean Fourth really up to something? By the way, what about Mackenzie? Asked the Duke. It has become known that the second prince returned to the palace and then suddenly left for the west. It was most likely a secret order from Emperor Giuseppe. I feel sorry for the second prince after all, said Alan. Even if he pretends to be the Emperor's loyal dog, the right to the throne still belongs to the crown prince. Hey, Cassian, I just got back from Count Belong. I want to warn you in advance that it was a friendly visit, Quaid exclaimed. He told me that the court office has received an official report that the Count's daughter, Lady Daisy, is missing. Erica approached Arna and told her that the tea party at the Earl's estate had been cancelled for personal reasons. Lady Daisy cancelled the tea party, but why? She's been insisting for days that I come to her. The girl thought to herself. Arnie decided to pay Lady Daisy a visit. Are you going somewhere? Cassian asked his wife. Alan had reported to him a few minutes ago that Arna had ordered the wagon to be prepared. Cassian, I have to go somewhere. I'll be back soon, the girl replied. Arna, are you not hiding anything from me? Ergen's words did not bring Cassian to peace. I have no secrets from you. Arna looked at her spouse with a surprised look. Why was he asking this of her? I'm talking about Ergen right now. Looking at you two, it might seem that you are very close. Is this man your lover? Tell me, what is the relationship between you two? Cassian asked. At one time, I taught that obnoxious son of an earl good manners. I have known him a long time. We are something like teacher and pupil, replied Arna. The girl promised herself that as soon as she met Ergen again, she would be sure to give him a beating. I'm sorry, Duchess, but Daisy is very ill. She can't even get out of bed to greet you, said a tearful Countess Belong. Well, I wish her a speedy recovery, said Arna. She found the situation extremely suspicious. The Countess was clearly not telling her the truth. Countess Belong wished Arnie a happy journey and hurried back to the house. Your lordship, I'm extremely happy to see you again. Did you also come here to check on Daisy? How lucky she is to have a pal like you. Liliana exclaimed. I was told that Lady Daisy wasn't feeling well, so she couldn't accept, said Arnie. Well, since that's the case, I'll come see her another time. By the way, Duchess, do you have a minute to spare? Since we've met, let's have tea with you, shall we? Liliana suggested. I like your suggestion very much. I suggest we go to some nice cafe, answered Arna. Liliana suggested going to a local pastry shop. Near the pastry shop, Arna noticed a girl who introduced herself as the daughter of the Duke of Frisia at the Imperial ball. Liliana, wait for me at the pastry shop. I have an unexpected business to attend to, said Arne and followed Duke Frisia's daughter. Some time later, Duke Frisia's daughter disappeared. Arna could not find her anywhere. The girl decided to go back to the candy store. Suddenly, she heard a woman screaming. From a distance, Arna saw masked men loading Liliana into a black carriage. Hey, wait, who are you people? Shouted Arna. Arna decided to save the girl. She summoned her sword, Nevermore. Your Grace, I think the Duchess is missing. A furious Erica burst into the Duke's room. What makes you think she's missing? Clarified the Duke. Yes, because the time at which she promised to come has long since passed. I sent a man after her, but he found no trace of her. She said she wanted to check on Lady Daisy Belong, but she still hasn't returned, replied Erica. Damn it, I'm going to Tesselac Manor right now, said the Duke. Arna followed the carriage in which Liliana was being taken away. The girl was very afraid to lose sight of the carriage. Arna noticed that there were some magical circles around the carriage. The carriage itself was constantly changing its appearance. Arna guessed that magic was involved. The kidnappers were using a cheap trick of seeing. The girl knew that such magic could be used by high-class mages. But why did they contact the kidnappers? Was it really all for money? Young maiden, if you were an ordinary person, you would have long ago let the kidnappers out of your sight. You're lucky you made a contract with me, grumbled Sword Nevermore. Have you thought about what you're going to do next when you catch up with them? Asked the Sword. Of course, I've already thought of everything. Don't doubt me. Though I'm a humble lady, I can't pretend like I don't notice such terrible things happening around me, replied Arna. The Duke of Ternugan arrived at Count Tesselac's estate. Why does he look so upset? Wasn't this a marriage of convenience? Ever since the Duchess disappeared, he hasn't been able to find a place for himself. It's hard to see such behavior as a sham marriage. The Count thought as he watched the Duke of Ternugan. The investigation hasn't yielded any leads. We've been treading water for days now. The problem is that there is no way we can catch the trail of the perpetrators, said Quaid. The witnesses have lost their memory and are only mumbling inaudibly. I'm getting very annoyed with this suspense. Please keep my consort's disappearance a secret. If the Emperor or the Western Empire interfere, the situation will become even more confusing. Also, bring to me all the strange personalities that have anything to do with Arne, asked Cassian. I have absolutely no idea why I was arrested. I wasn't doing anything illegal, resented Ergen. We'll find out during the investigation, said Cassian. I want to assure you that the Duchess will be perfectly fine. I've known her for a long time. She's gotten away with more serious trouble, said Ergen. The fact that you know my wife well makes you even more suspicious. What do you know so much about her since you're sure she'll be fine? Cassian asked. I know how strong a woman she is. I believe she can handle any situation, exclaimed Ergen. Pray to God that everything happens exactly as you say. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble too, hissed Cassian through his teeth. Crave felt a severe weakness in his legs. He stopped to catch his breath. Why did you stop? We need to keep running. I can feel the mistress's aura. She is on the east side. Run faster, slave, shouted Sword Evermore. Arna had lost sight of the carriage after all. The kidnappers drove into the thicket of the forest and disappeared. Most likely magic had been used again. When you cross the criminal's barrier, they'll immediately realize you're following them on their heels. Sword Nevermore warned the girl. I realize that perfectly well. I also realize that if I cross the barrier, the mages will know of your existence. I need to somehow sneak into their lair. To do that, I must find a loophole in the barrier, answered Arna. Arna began swinging her sword from side to side, looking for a weakness in the barrier. Arna shattered the barrier and quickly stashed the sword in its permanent abode. The mages could not be allowed to know where Nevermore was. Stepping carefully so as not to make any unnecessary rustling noises, Arna made her way to the cave. 2 guards stood at the entrance to the cave. The girl guessed that this was the kidnapper's lair. What am I supposed to do with these guards? Should I stun them? What if they have time to make a fuss? Arna thought to herself. Suddenly, a squirrel jumped to the ground next to the girl. An acorn rolled out of its paws. Arna threw the acorn right under the guard's feet. The squirrel immediately ran after the acorn. Look at that! A squirrel and an acorn! The guards turned away from the cave entrance and watched the squirrel's manipulations. Arna took advantage of the situation and slipped into the cave unnoticed. The kidnapper's lair was a long prison. There were people sitting in each cell. "Let me out! I really miss my mom!" Suddenly, a little girl screamed. "This is a slave trader's cave. They don't even bother kidnapping children. Wait, I'll be sure to rescue everyone," Arna said in a quiet whisper. She gestured for the people to be quiet. In one of the cells, Arna saw Liliana and Daisy. "Duchess, how did you end up here? Did they capture you too?" Liliana asked. "I didn't expect a rat to sneak in. From the looks of you, you're not from the tower. Maybe you serve on the security squad? Either way, you came here for nothing." An old man who appeared in the hallway exclaimed. The old man muttered some kind of spell. A moment later, the floor beneath the girl's feet trembled and cracked. "It's too late to resist now. Whoever you are, you can't get out of here," the old man exclaimed. Arna felt her whole body stiffen with weakness. The girl's legs gave out. She fell to the floor. "I should have left Nevermore by my side," Arna thought as she lost consciousness. The girl woke up in some dark place in the middle of the rocks. "I wish you had been born a man. Then you could have claimed the throne. Why were you born a girl? Aren't your abilities too strong for a girl? This is a first in the level ghost lineage." There was a prolonged howl from the ghosts that appeared before Arna. "What's wrong with being born a girl? Yes, when I was studying, I was often bullied because I was the first female knight in the history of the Western Empire, but I was able to gain respect." Arne thought to herself. When Arne was 5 years old, the legendary swordmaster Gurhan handed the girl one of his swords. He explained to her that with this sword, she would be able to control magic. "Be sure to listen to this sword. It will always tell you how to handle this or that situation," said Gurhan to the girl. When Arna opened her eyes, she realized she was in one of the cells. The girl felt a wild headache. "All is clear on me used magic of hallucination, which confuses the consciousness and deprives a person of will," Arna guessed. Arna summoned her sword Nevermore. "I am seriously offended by you. You abandoned me so insensitively in the beginning, and now you summon me," grumbled the sword. "It seems I can only rely on you in dangerous moments, Nevermore," said Arna. "Have you managed to wake up from your hallucination magic yet?" wondered the old man. "Tell me, how were you able to find us? Looking at you, I can guess you're from an aristocratic family." Arna held out her sword in front of her. "Oh, it's so scary! Help!" The old man pretended to be very frightened. "Did you think this is how I would react to your sword? How naive you are, after all. There is a special magic imposed in this cave that only a sword master can break," said the old man and laughed loudly. "If I believe what you say, only a sword master can break this grate, right? Well then, let's test it," exclaimed Arna. The girl struck the bars of her prison cell with all her might with her sword. "Old man, you were right. This bars really can be cut," said the girl. "Well, how did you do it? You're just an ordinary girl," exclaimed the old man. Unable to stay on his feet, he fell on his back. "You're not a girl. You're a monster." The old man ordered the guards standing at the entrance to call the mercenaries for help. "If you do anything foolish, the next thing I cut will be your neck," warned Arna. "You think that if you kill me, you won't get anything for it? You don't know who's behind me yet, do you?" said the old man. "Well, who is behind you?" asked Arna. "And I won't tell you that," replied the old man. Well, then I don't care who is covering for you. I myself am well aware that powerful people are behind such criminal groups. And if you're not going to tell me anything, then just die, said Arna in a calm, unemotional voice. A crowd of mercenaries burst into the cave. With a loud shout, they rushed at the girl. Well, what a bore. It's the same thing every time, grumbled Arna. How nice of you to summon me. It's been a long time since I've absorbed such a large number of souls. Rejoiced nevermore. Arna rushed into battle, striking the mercenaries one by one. Don't be afraid of this wench! Keep attacking! Shouted the leader of the mercenaries. Crave spotted a cave. Several suspicious men were gathered near it. There was also a wagon with bars instead of windows. There were people sitting in the wagon. Crave guessed that they were slave traders. The slave traders were led by a strange man wearing bandages that completely concealed his body. Crave decided to follow the slave traders. Crave saw the slave traders disappear into the rift in the magical barrier. Suddenly, the barrier collapsed, and Crave saw the commander in front of him. Arna asked the knight why he had come to her aid now. Where had he been missing all this time? I rushed here as soon as I could. I was assisted in your search by Evermore, answered Crave. I understand you saw the slave traders. Was there by any chance a man among them completely wrapped in bandages? Asked Arna. Yes, there was one, answered Crave. When I was fighting the mercenaries, this man was watching me from afar as well. His gaze seemed extremely unpleasant to me. I am sure that all these people are not simple slave traders. There's also a mage among them who uses hallucinations. Narrated Arna. Maybe I showed myself early? I should have watched them for a while longer. I still don't know who these people really are. Suddenly, Arna heard the stomping of hooves. Looking up, she saw a squad of public guards approaching the cave. Arna hurried to hide Nevermore. She asked Crave to tell her that he was the one who had massacred the slave traders. The very next day, all the newspapers carried the sensational news that a gang of criminals who had been hiding in the caves of the forest for a long time had been destroyed. Several dozen hostages had been freed. And the hero of all these achievements is Mr. Crave. He is the new triumphant of the Northern Empire. The town manager shouted loudly. Crave stared fearfully from the stage at the screaming crowd. He had never wanted to be a hero, and he hated that the commander's laurels went to him. What a brave knight this is, after all. He single-handedly sneaked into the villain's lair and dealt with them. It is also said that he is a master swordsman. This all sounds extremely frightening. The crowd whispered. Ergen watched from the sidelines and laughed quietly to himself. Valiant knight. What did you do in the Western Empire before? Surely you must have shown your abilities there as well, said the town clerk. Yes, I have, Crave muttered, embarrassed. He was anxious to get home and lock himself in his room. There was an article in the morning paper about the mysterious death of an old mage who had been involved in crimes. I thought the security squad was investigating this case, and here it turns out to be a mysterious death. Arna thought to herself. Cassian watched his spouse from the window. He still didn't know what she was hiding or what she was thinking about. When Cassian was little, the world seemed rather boring to him. His uncle had practically taken away the throne. There were only 2 people who supported him. The first was a general who had served Cassian's father for many years. The second person was the godmother. Emperor Giuseppe paid absolutely no attention to his nephew. He did not care about him. He constantly regarded Cassian as weak, unable to stand up to him. Cassian led a quiet life. He tried not to draw the emperor's attention to himself, but he was always aware of what was happening in the empire. Cassian always knew what intrigues the nobles were weaving and what they were up to. Those who tried to harm him were immediately destroyed. Those nobles who treated Cassian well were safe. Palace intrigue seemed too simple and of no interest to Cassian. It was only a couple months ago that Arna had come into Cassian's life. She immediately interested him with her behavior. He wanted to see her as often as possible. That's why he chose her to be his wife. Cassian noticed that for the first time, he began to feel emotions towards a person. Whenever Arna was unhappy, he would boil up inside. It seemed to Cassian that just a little more, and he would go mad. When Arne disappeared, Cassian was ready to give everything he had to bring his wife home. The Duke was overjoyed when he learned that the Duchess had finally been found. Seeing his wife safe and sound, Cassian realized that he didn't want to let her go. He wanted to see her gaze all the time, her smile. Noticing her husband through the window of his office, Arne waved cheerfully. Cassian waved back. The next day, Cassian went to the Imperial police to hear the testimony of witnesses. "I don't remember how I was captured. I woke up in a cell. A little while later, I saw the Duchess, and the next thing I knew, I had another memory lapse," said Daisy. "Everyone has fragmented memories. That's why the investigation is moving so slowly," Cassian thought to himself. Another witness was called into the interview room. A small, dark-haired girl entered the room. She looked fearfully at the adults. "Child, do you remember anything about your time in the dungeon?" asked the interrogator. "Yes, I remember everything. She made a promise that she would save us. We were saved by a beautiful girl with silver hair and bright red eyes," told the girl. The secretary handed the Duke a report of the investigation that had been conducted in the Western Empire. Every line of the report sent the Duke into a state of shock. Disappearing people in the Northern Empire? A sword master massacring criminals? Only Arne could do such a thing. The Emperor of the Western Empire, Siklion IV, muttered. He held up a report from the Northern Empire. "The Duke of Ternugan has forbidden his consort from leaving the house due to her poor health. That sounds very strange. I'm glad that she wants to return home after all. She is only guided by her principles and has absolutely no desire for power. So why do I have such an uneasy feeling in my heart? I can't sit quietly and watch from the sidelines. I need to come up with an excuse to help Arne come home." A report from the Western Empire revealed that the swordmaster was the daughter of Duke Brillacht. I should have guessed that long ago. I myself have seen perfectly well that she is constantly in the thick of things and always gets away with it. People around me have noticed her oddities, that she reacts calmly to blood and dead people, Cassian thought. The other day she told me herself that she is very strong, that I worry about her for nothing. I myself volunteered to take a swordmaster as a wife and brought her to my home from the Western Empire. I will continue to communicate with her as before, as if I know nothing about her. Cassian found his consort on the outdoor terrace. "The stars are well out at this time, and the sky looks absolutely stunning," said Cassian. "Yes, the starry sky is beautiful," replied the girl. "It's been almost 2 months now, and its looks still haven't bored me. If I stay here for more than 3 months, I'll have a hard time parting with him afterward. Life in the Northern Empire is more interesting than I thought," Arne remarked to herself. "When you talked to me about the stars, I remembered the day you first brought me here. You have always been kind to me," said Arne to her spouse. "Arnie, I will ask you one more time. Are you not hiding anything from me?" asked Cassian. "If you are talking about Ergen now, I have already told you everything," replied Arne. "I know she is a master swordsman and has many victories under her belt, but I want to hear it from her personally." Cassian thought to himself. The next day, Arne decided to analyze her husband's behavior. In the evening on the terrace, he had seemed very sad. Most likely something had happened in his life. "Commander, do you have any idea what I had to endure yesterday? That Ergen bullied me. I was dragged around all night by the townsperson," Crave complained. "Mistress, you need to drink this. This potion will restore the strength of even a dying man. I've waited almost 2 years to finally get it." The maid placed a glass with a dark liquid beside Arne. "What is that strange odor?" grumbled Crave. "I don't think I need to drink it," exclaimed Arne. "You owe it to yourself to drink this remedy. You've been looking extremely pale lately," said Cassian to his spouse as he approached. He wanted to force Arne to tell the truth. Arne took the glass with the potion and drank it in a gulp. "To fully recover, you will need to drink this potion 3 times a day," said Cassian. "Cassian, I have something to tell you. I am much healthier and stronger than you think," exclaimed Arne. She didn't want to drink a disgusting potion 3 times a day. She struggled to drink only 1 glass. I have something to tell you as well. There's a delegation from the Western Empire heading here, said Cassian. How I long to see Arnie. I haven't seen her in months, said Lionel, Prince of the Western Empire. Your Highness, I want to warn you that in just a few minutes we will be at the airship that will take us to the Northern Empire, said Jarena. Cassian, it's so good to see you, shouted Cynthia and threw herself into her cousin's arms. Why didn't you come to see me? I've been waiting for you to play together. The others are very busy, so they don't want to play with me. I've been very sad and lonely here lately. I decided that I will study a lot to become like my brothers. By the way, and I still haven't seen your wife. Is she beautiful? My wife is the most beautiful in the world, replied Cassian. The maid handed Arna an invitation to Emperor Giuseppe's birthday party. Back home, Cassian suggested to his wife to take a little walk. The girl happily agreed to her husband's proposal. Cassian decided to arrange for his spouse a walk along the water canals of the capital. It's very romantic. It's still great that the river runs right in the middle of the city. I want to confess to you that this is the first time I've been on a boat, exclaimed Arna. It's my first time boating, too. I used to be afraid to go near the river because many people dreamed of drowning me, confessed Cassian. Cassian brought his spouse to the capital square. It's the eve of the Emperor's birthday, so there are various activities going on in the capital square every day. Today, I want to show you the celebratory fireworks, said Cassian. Cassian led his consort to the sidewalk where there was a beautiful view of the fireworks. Cassian drew his consort to him and kissed her gently on the lips. Welcome to the Northern Empire. Edward bowed low before the guests from the Western Empire. Thank you for your hospitality. My name is Lionel. I am the Prince of the Western Empire. My father is not quite well, so I came out to meet you in his place. I have prepared a small palace for you so you can be accommodated there, said Edward. Commander, it is so good to see you in person, Jarena exclaimed and hugged Arnie tightly. Standing modestly aside, Lionel only waved a hand at his cousin Arna. And how's married life treating you? I still can't believe you got married. That's how brave one has to be choose you to be his spouse, said Lionel. I apologize. I'm a little late. Greetings to the delegation from the Western Empire. I am Cassian, Duke of Ternugan. Pleased to meet you, your lordship. I am Jarena Irgain, until recently a member of the Order of the Golden Dragon. I am now a knight of the Crown Prince. And I am Lionel, Prince of the Western Empire and cousin of Arna. Well, you may remember me. I'm Lord Sarno, Arna's uncle. I'm glad to see you all here. Make yourselves at home, said the Duke with a friendly smile. Commander, you have no idea how much I've missed you, exclaimed Jarena, clinging tightly to Arna. Commander, do you like it here? I've heard that the locals don't like those who come from the Western Empire. I hope they treat you well. By the way, tell me a little about your consort. Do you like him? At first, I thought I would get bored of him quickly, but it turned out to be quite different. He's very handsome. I love looking at him, replied Arna. Commander, let's make a rather fun bet with you. We'll see if the Duke will fall for it if I start seducing him, Jarena suggested. Arna looked angrily at Jarena. The bet idea really displeased her. I was just kidding, wasn't I? If you'll excuse me, I'll be going now, and it's time for you to rest, Jarena exclaimed and sprinted out the door. Outside the Duchess's room, Jarena saw Crave. You shouldn't be rude to our commander. This isn't the Western Empire for you. I remember what went on back home. I won't let you act like that again, said Crave. Jarena noted to herself that this knight had become even more loyal to the Duchess. What was that about?